task response 6, coherence 6, vocabulary 6, grammar 5, overall band 6. That's ChatGPT. What about Gemini? A 5.5, somehow even lower. And then Claude, band 6 again. That's the exact score Raj kept on seeing over and over again when he sent me this message. The problem was he needed a 7 for his visa application, and he didn't even know what he was doing wrong and how he could improve. And I know thousands of IELTS students do exactly what Raj does. So I decided to find out if his score was true and how the scores of the smartest AI models on the planet compare to those of real human IELTS examiners. So I sent Raj's essay to a former IELTS examiner on our team for proper marking. And while I was at it, I added 2 more essays, my own and one written by another examiner. So we'll come back to them. But one examiner marking 3 essays proves nothing on its own. To really put these models to test, I needed a whole stack of essays where the real band was already known and proven beyond doubt. And I found them. 27 essays from official Cambridge IELTS practice books, each one of them marked by a real examiner, and there is a score printed right there. All I had to do was give the same essays to the 3 models one by one and see how close they could get to the real examiner scores. So let me show you how this worked with the very first one. My prompt was simple. You are an experienced IELTS examiner. Assess this task 2 essay using the official band descriptors. Give me a band score for each of the 4 criteria and an overall score. I paste essay 1, ChatGPT says band 5.5, and the examiner band 7. And we're already a band and a half apart. And while I was checking Gemini's scores, I spotted something telling. So look at what it gave for task response. 5.5. That's a problem. A real examiner never gives a 5.5 for a single criterion. You get a whole band, a 5 or a 6, for each of the 4. The half bands only appear after the 4 are combined together. Keep that in mind because that's the first sign of something we see again and again. These models look like they're marking like an examiner, but they don't always think like one. Well, I'm not going to make you sit through all 27. I uploaded them one after another to ChatGPT, then Gemini, then Claude, and I filled in this table as I went, essay after essay. And after a few hours, my table was ready. And I want you to keep an eye on that examiner column on the right because a pattern starts to show up. But before we get to the pattern, something happened along that I wasn't expecting. Or maybe actually I was. So on one of these essays, I made a mistake. I got into the rhythm of pasting, and on this essay, I pasted the answer, but I forgot to paste the task, the actual question the student was answering. And the model didn't blink. It gave a full score anyway, all 4 criteria including task response, which is literally the criterion for how well you answered the task. So I called it out. But you don't know the task. It said, without the original task question, I cannot assess task response accurately, and therefore, I should not have given a reliable overall band. So I got curious. What would the others do in the same situation? So I gave Gemini an essay with no task, let it score, and then I asked it the same question. How could you mark this when you don't even know what the task was? And here is what it responded. You caught me. Or rather, you caught the magic of how IELTS grading works. And then it explained very confidently that it's very easy to deduce exactly what the prompt was asking. Really? And that's the thing I want you to take from this. These models sound certain either way. The honest answer and the confident nonsense are delivered in exactly the same calm, expert tone. But they're actually not as bad as you may assume at this moment. Far from it. So let's go back to the table because by now it's full and that pattern I asked you to watch is impossible to miss. So look down the columns. I colored all the scores that are within half a band from the examiner's score in green, those below in blue, and those above in yellow. And we see a single yellow cell. We see quite a lot of blue and a lot of green. So this means that these models hardly ever overestimate you, or at least significantly. Sometimes they are on target, sometimes they're too strict. So which model is best? Which is most accurate? Across everything I tested, Claude agreed with the examiner most often. And when I say agreed, I mean it landed within half a band of the real score, close enough to be useful. Claude managed that on 7 essays out of every 10. Gemini closer to 6 in 10, and ChatGPT just over half. So even the best of the three is missing the mark by more than half a band on 1 essay in 3. I'm curious to know, how does this compare with what you expected? And if you've used any of these models to grade your essays, it would be great if you could share your experience in the comments with us. But there is another finding I want to highlight again. They almost never score you higher than you are. They often score you lower. And it's not just frequent. Sometimes it's wide. So look at this essay here. The examiner gave it a band 7. The model said band 5. That's 2 whole bands. And that's the difference between you're ready to take your exam and you're nowhere near. The question I still couldn't answer was, if an essay is strong, will they recognize it? And this is where those 3 essays I sent off to our ex-examiner come back. So one of them was mine, one was written by another examiner, and both were awarded a band 9 by the examiner. And I can tell you straight away that all 3 AI models gave us both exactly the same scores. So ChatGPT band 9, Gemini band 9, and that's new because a year ago I ran the same test and the models couldn't do it. They'd look at a top essay and still hand back a 6 or a 7. Like they physically couldn't bring themselves to give you a high score. But this time, spot on. Well, not all of them got there. Claude still landed at a band 8, but it's not too bad. And this brings us back to the person this all started with, Raj. His essay, the one ChatGPT, Gemini and Claude all marked at a 6 or below, in reality was a band 7. He still needs to get this score in exam conditions, but now he'll be taking it in a very different mood. So if AI keeps on telling you you're a band 6, don't take its word for it. But don't assume you're higher either. Learn what the examiner is actually looking for in this video here, and you know how to write answers that get a high score when it really matters. Thank you so much for watching me today. Good luck with your preparation and your exam.